Today we're going to take a look at how to do some basic data cleaning in Python. So I have already uploaded my data set. This is a data set of a bunch of roller coasters and pieces of information about those roller coasters. So you can see here that I already have done coasters.head to take a look at what my data set looks like. Just looking at these first 5 rows of data, you might notice quite a few formatting issues, and we're going to take a look at how to fix some of those. So let's start with renaming a column. If you look here, this column name doesn't really tell us much. I don't know what that abbreviation stands for. So let's rename that so that we can see what that actually means. And for this entire video, I am going to keep coasters.head at the bottom of my code. So every time that I run the code, I can see these first 5 rows and can see what's changing. So I am going to do coasters.rename. And then I want to rename a column. You do have to put columns, plural. And I want equals. And then in curly brackets, I'm going to put the current name of the column, colon, and then the name that I want to change it to. So currently that column is TSOC. It is case sensitive, make sure that that matches. And I would like to replace it with top speed. TSOC stands for top speed of coaster. After this, I need to put in place equals true. This is going to not create a new version or a copy of this data set, but it's actually going to change the data set here. So when I run this, you can see that now our column name has changed. Second thing you might notice here is in the max height column, we do have the word 70 instead of the number 70. So in Google Sheets or Microsoft Excel, you might do find and replace. We can do the same type of thing here. So if I want to find and replace a specific value, I can do coasters.replace, and I would like to replace the word 70. Again, it's case sensitive. I need to make sure that it matches exactly. And then replace it with the number 70. And once again, in place equals true. With this replace function, any string needs to be in quotes. "70", the number, is not a string. I want that to stay a number, so I'm not going to put it in quotes. So let me run that. And now you can see that the word 70 has changed to the number 70. You might also notice in here that the length column has a couple things going on. First, that first number, 3,500, has a comma. That's going to cause an issue if we try to do math with that column. And then the units in feet are also going to cause an issue if we try to do calculations with that column. So I need to remove the comma and remove the units from the length column. To remove the comma, I'm going to do the same thing that I just did. I'm going to use the basically find and replace function to search for a comma and replace it with nothing. So if I do coasters.replace, I want to find a comma and replace it with nothing. I know it's a lot with the commas and the quotes, but this is saying find a comma, replace it with nothing. Again, I need in place equals true, but this time I also need something else. I need regex equals true. This lets me search for a comma within a cell. If I don't have that regex equals true, it will only replace a comma that is the entire cell content, which is probably not going to happen anywhere in our data set. Using regex equals true, let's just search and find like this comma where it is in the middle of a word or a number. So regex lets us search for a comma in the middle of a value or word. So now that comma that was in this number is now gone. To remove the units, we have a few different options. I'm going to show you one option here. You can get fancier and use some more advanced coding, but I'm going to start with something that's pretty simple. So again, we are going to use that replace function, but as far as I can tell right now, that length column is the only one that has the units of feet. I can tell it to search specifically within one column, and that's what I'm going to do here. So in the coasters data set, we want to look specifically at the length column. And I am going to replace anywhere we see space feet, because I would like to remove that space as well, and replace it with nothing. And regex equals true. For some reason, the in place doesn't work when you specify a specific column. So we have to say, in the coasters data frame, the length column is going to be replaced with this replace function. So this will only search and replace in the length column. And when I run this code, all of those units are gone. Now, this specific method only works for a situation where you have all of the same units. If we had a variety of units in that column, you would need to either have multiple lines of code to replace each of those different units, or you can use a more advanced function that will replace everything. Now, sometimes when you use the replace function, it doesn't reformat the values as numbers. So I am actually going to change this real quick to info. Using coasters.info will tell me what type of data each variable or each column is stored as. So you can see in the length column that these were stored as objects instead of numbers. So I'm going to make sure that the computer knows that I want those to be numbers by adding an extra line of code here. It's going to be pd.toNumeric because I want to force it to be a number. And I specifically want to look at the length column. And then I'm going to put errors equals coerce. there are several different options for what you can put here instead of the word coerce, but using the word coerce will change all non-numbers to NaN. So this is not going to appear to do anything when I run this code, but it will make sure that my lengths are numbers now that we've removed the units. Now, looking at our data again, you might notice that in the type column, this instance of steel is not capitalized, it is all lowercase. That could cause some problems when we go to make a bar chart or something later. So we can reformat that. In Google Sheets, it was kind of annoying to reformat words, but it's really easy in Python. So I'm going to specifically look at the type column. So coasters type. And as I did before, I have to tell it to replace that entire column with what I'm going to tell it to do now. str stands for string, and you have several options for what you can do here. I'm going to capitalize. So when I do this, if we look specifically at the type column, this value in row 3, now it's capitalized. Some other options that you have for formatting this, you could do upper, and that'll put those in all caps. You could do lower, which puts them in all lowercase. I would like to keep it as capitalized, but your options are lower, upper, or capitalize. And then if you would like to reformat the age group column, you can do that as well to make sure that they are all formatted the way you want them to be. So that's the formatting that I want to look at. The last formatting thing I want to look at here is adjusting the number of decimal places. So for the number of inversions column, that you're not going to have a decimal number of inversions. You're not going to go upside down 0.5 times. So if I want to only change the number of decimal places displayed for that column, I want to do coasters, specifically looking at num of inversions. Oops. And I'm going to replace that column with coasters, num of inversions, dot map. And then here's the part that looks a little bit crazy. I'm going to do quote, curly bracket, colon, comma, 0 or 0.0 f. And then after that quote there, dot format. Now, where I have the 0, that's the number of decimal places. So if we look, just looking at the number of inversions column, now we have no decimal places. If I change this 0 to a 2, now we have 2 decimal places. So you can adjust that number to however many decimal places you want. So change the number 0 to the number decimal places you want. Now, the last two things I want to look at are how to remove duplicates and blanks, which are the NaNs. So to start with, before I do any of that, I'm going to print the number of rows here so I can see how many get deleted. So right now I have 158 rows in my data set. First thing I'm going to do is get rid of the duplicates. So coasters.drop duplicates, and then I need in place equals true. Now, if there are two rows that are 100% identical, they have the same coaster name, same park name, same top speed, same max height, same value in every column, then it is going to delete the copies. So let's see what happens there. And then I want to print again the len so we can see how many rows there are afterwards. Okay, so I had one set of duplicate entries, and I don't know what coaster that was, but one of them had the exact same entry twice. You can adjust this code to remove duplicates in a specific column. So I could, and I'm not going to run this code, but I could say subset equals coaster. This would look for any duplicates in the coaster column. So if there are two coasters with the same name, it would delete one of them. The issue with that is there could be two coasters with the same name that are in two different parks, and they might legitimately be two different coasters. So that may or may not be the best choice depending on your data set, but that is an option. So this will delete if if the rows are exactly the same. We talked in a previous video how to remove any row that has an NaN in it. You can also specify an NaN in which column. So I can say coasters.dropNA in place equals true. That's what we did in a previous video. Any row that has an NaN anywhere in the row, that row will be deleted. But if I am only focused on a specific column, I can add subset equals maybe I only care about top speed. Maybe that's what I'm focusing on. Oops. So looking at the first 5 rows here, this row, the Arkansas Twister, has an NaN in the top speed. That should be the only row that is deleted. These other rows that have an NaN in the duration column should not be deleted. And then once again, let's look and see how many rows get deleted. So you can see that coaster that was missing the top speed is deleted, but the coasters that are missing the duration are not deleted. So this will delete rows that have NaN in a specific column. So those are the things for today. Obviously, there are more advanced things that you can do to clean your data. This is just a good place to start.